Candace Park knows a lot about playing a role. For most of her life, she's been playing the role of the quiet Korean girl who takes all AP classes and plays a classical instrument, keeping her dreams of stardom and her obsession with SLK, K-pop's top boy band, to herself. She doesn't see how a regular girl like her could possibly become one of those K-pop goddesses she sees on YouTube. Even though she can sing. Like, really sing. So when Candace secretly enters a global audition held by SLK's music label, the last thing she expects is to actually get a coveted spot in their trainee program. And convincing her strict parents to let her to go is all but impossible, although it's nothing compared to what comes next. Under the strict supervision of her instructors at the label's headquarters in Seoul, Candace must perfect her performance skills to within an inch of her life, learn to speak Korean fluently, and navigate the complex hierarchies of her fellow trainees, all while following the strict rules of the industry. Rule number 1. No dating.
Our main protagonist of the story, Candace, is a Korean-American girl who loves K-pop. When she passes her audition, she somehow convinces her parents to go to South Korea to participate in a trainee program run by one of the biggest K-pop labels, which is also the same label that her favorite boy group is under. My impression of Candace is what I would expect a protagonist in a K-pop story to be like. She goes through obstacles that would put doubt and pressure on herself, as well as the other members of her trainee group. I had to admit I admired that she ditched her SAT tutoring to go to the audition. That's like the minimum of what I would expect a somewhat good main character. All I can say is that she's pretty average and definitely acts her age in a lot of the moments in the book. It's not until like towards the end of the story that Candace really becomes like a strong figure. And because, spoiler alert, she's like not willing to bend to like the stereotypical rules in K-pop, like the acting all prim and proper, as well like having no relationships. So she was decent. Like, she wasn't the best character in the book despite being the main character, but you know, I'll take it. And I couldn't help but during the reading of this book that I pictured her as Yuna from ITZY, like a pre-debut Yuna. Next up we got Helena. Right off the bat I could tell she was a bad bitch. She's supposed to be a rival for Candace, as they're both from America, and the unspoken rule in K-pop, according to this book, is that only one American girl can make it into the final lineup, which is bullshit because like there's real life groups that have more than one member from the same place. And Helena definitely was depicted as like a bitch during the whole duration of the book, but honestly I can understand why she's portrayed the way she is. If you've been a trainee for more than 10 years and are this close to debuting, but then this other girl with zero professional artistic experience, even though they have like natural talent, comes along and turns your place, I could see why she's a little on edge most of the time. especially once you learn like her backstory towards the end, I can totally sympathize why she is the way she is. In reality, she just like wants to debut like the most out of anyone. She's like the whole package. She's pretty and has the talent. A problem I will say about her like character arc would be that her backstory kind of came out of nowhere and it really dissolved really quickly as well. You would think for a rival character that the pacing would be, you know, spaced out a bit more and fleshed out, but it was really fast paced. So yeah, overall, I mean, Helena, she wasn't bad. I will say she was, like, I did get annoyed with her a lot of the time. But that's the point. She really sells the bitchy attitude and stuff. She really is a threat to Candace because she is better in like a lot of aspects that you would expect a trainee to have to be an idol. You know, they became friends in the end, which I'm not surprised about. So yeah, and I did picture Secret Number's Ginny as Helena, just because I don't know, there was a lot of similarities to her and, you know, Ginny's story and how she was brought up, because she was supposed to be like a member of Blackpink and stuff before like leaving YG. So yeah. Next is Bina, which I love her. Protect her. I love her so much. Like Helena, she's a longtime trainee and the leader of Team 2. She's respectful, hardworking, and empathetic. She's the one that takes care of Candace when she first enters the trainee program. Overall, I love her. She's super supportive and wonderful. I really hope there's more of her in the sequel, because she deserves a lot. I pictured G-Idol's Soyeon because I love Soyeon. She's amazing. And you know, behind those like fierce eyes, there's like a soft teddy bear inside, you know? Jinju, for the most part, I feel like there wasn't a lot on her, which, yeah, is really sad. The only time she seems to have like spotlight on her is when someone comments on her weight, which is sick, and I hate it a lot. But I can't help but feel like it's accurate, because fat shaming in South Korea, especially like amongst idols, is like a true thing. And really, I hope in their sequel she gets treated better, because yeah, I just got so mad whenever someone brought up her like appearance. I'm like, okay. I imagined her as Purple Kiss's Swan, the maknae, I believe. Swan's the maknae. Because I'm pretty sure she got a lot of shit on her like body type when she debuted, which is bullshit, because look at her, she's gorgeous. People are just haters. Anyways, moving on. Just like Jinju, Aram felt like a background character in the beginning. Sometimes she would act like Helena's sidekick by like laughing at her insults towards Candace, although over time she would slowly become nicer. But again, there isn't enough information on her and Jinju for me to fully analyze their characters, which is sad, because she is also a member of Team 2, you know? And her only defining trait, it would seem, would be like her appearance. Like, she's described as like, I don't know, a goddess, and like I think the prettiest amongst like the female trainees. Yeah, there are a handful of times when her beauty is mentioned to emphasize that she's like top tier visual. Like, I get it, she's beautiful, but I don't need to be reminded every 30 pages or so. Personally, I think it was a wasted opportunity to explore more of her story, especially since there's a lot of idols out there in real life who are like visuals of their group but tend to be underestimated. For my fan cast, I'd imagine Ives. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ives, or former IZ*ONE member Won Young as her, even though you can pretty much like imagine any female idol in this role. supposedly the most desirable guy in K-pop, according to this book, and the most popular member in SLK, which is Candace's favorite boy group. He's the Jungkook, or the Bangchan, or the Jaehyun. To be honest, I don't remember a lot of his character as I read the book, because I did read this 6 months ago, so yeah, I'm just going off of notes I've made at the time. His interactions with Candace were chill and natural, I would say. He isn't like the diva that I predicted him to be, and generally seemed like the cool high school senior type. Although I did find it weird that a top idol would take a risk at being seen with a girl in public, considering how crazy Candace can be most of the time. I also found it weird that he didn't take initiative and cleared up the scandal himself when the photo of him and Candace went public, which makes me really question him, and I really hope this is explored in the sequel, because that storyline kind of did feel foggy on his part. Like, he kind of just disappeared right after it was let out. So yeah, I really want to know what the hell he's been doing. And because of his stage name, I can't help but picture him as Han Ji-sung from Stray Kids, because how can you not 1J and then Hyun's 3 Racha stage name is J1. He is the love interest of Candace and is the embodiment of Boy Next Door. He's fun to be around, and he comforts her whenever she has trouble within the company. There are a few moments in the book where his K-pop talent is shown through Candace's perspective, and in her words, he's young and totally bae. Yeah. The only thing I wish the author did was show more of the training program through the eyes of a guy, aka through Young Bae, and it also would have provided a bit of separation between Young Bae and Candace's relationship. Even though I liked Young Bae and I find his relationship with Candace cute, his only involvement in the story is to be a romantic interest, and I would have liked to see if he had any struggles outside of that relationship. And I really do hope they expand on his character in this sequel. And don't worry, I'll talk about the romance later on in this video. And because of their similar Korean names, I pictured Young Bae as a young Eric from The Boys. Just because, I don't know, even Eric's personality reminds me of Young Bae. My overall impression of the story was fine. I did like that there were believable situations, such as the no dating rule and the struggles and insecurities of a young trainee within the K-pop world would have. However, there are a handful of cons in this book that I would want to go over. First of all, the pacing didn't feel consistent at sometimes. For example, it felt weird that Candace's parents let her go to Seoul so easily as they did, considering how Candace described them as basically tiger parents, which is extreme level of Asian parents. Or even the moment where Bina didn't get picked for the final lineup despite her talent and experience compared to all the other trainees. Honestly, she deserves so much better than that. Really. There's the subplot, I don't know if you guys can even call it a subplot, where Candace is initially replacing another girl in the program. There's barely any explanation as to how and why this happened. But it's basically just resolved within a quick explanation by the manager on page 183. The girl basically got injured so bad that she just couldn't continue, and it was shrugged off as nothing. I felt defeated because I'm the type that really loves a good mystery, and it would have been a really good subplot, but it just ended with a quick standoffish answer, so it just left a bad taste in my mouth. Overall, 0 out of 10. There are also these outlandish concepts within the story, such as the infamous gender glass that's just in the trainee cafeteria that's separating all the boys and girls. Like, what? Even when it was brought up, I had to take a second because I just didn't think that would ever be a point in the story. Like, why? The idea of having a physical gender wall separating the trainees was just ridiculous in my opinion. Apparently, the idea of boys and girls just being friends in K-pop doesn't exist. Like, it's weird to me. There's also this aspect in the book where Candace or any other character would like use Korean terms or K-pop slang, and then it's followed by an explanation in case readers don't know what it means. For readers that don't know K-pop, sure, that would seem helpful. However, if you're writing a story surrounded in K-pop, the chances of you attracting an audience and readers, and they just so happen to be K-pop fans, are like 100%, and they would know the terminology. And even if you aren't a K-pop fan and are still reading this, there's an index literally at the back of the book with their explanations. What's the point of having both? Don't have explanations within the story, as it deprives it from the actual plot. I can't tell you guys how many times I've been taken out of the story because of this, and it just became extremely annoying after the first couple of words. There's also the scene where Candace meets the other members of SLK besides Wonjae, which is, I have to say, is complete bullshit, because like, idols in real life don't give a shit about the trainees in their company unless they're helping out with like monthly evaluations. They have careers that they actually need to focus on. And now that I've typed this out, I've realized I have more issues with this book than good points. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the story, guys. I hope you like that. Now this is the section where I'm sure everyone wanted to see. It's basically a love triangle, though personally, in my opinion, I don't see it as that. From the perspective of Candace, I can see why she would think she's in a love triangle between Youngbae and Wonjae, but neither guy knew that the other existed in her life until like the photo went public. And this is pretty much the only romance in the book. It's just these three. Regarding this, I also found it really annoying that whenever Candace would hang out with Wonjae, she would refer to it as cheating on Youngbae, which is, I think, garbage at this point, because at this point she's not dating him. They're just friends only at this point. So like, I don't get why she's referring to it as cheating. Regarding whether I ship Candace and Youngbae or Candace and Jaewon, I would have to go for the former. I am glad that they ended up together. The way their relationship played out through the story, I think, seemed more natural. In contrast to like Candace's relationship with Wonjae, as she only really saw him as like a celebrity crush and I don't think really sees his like true self. And Candace and Youngbae had like more time together to get to know each other. They're in the same language classes, so yeah, it would be more believable. If for some reason she ended up with like Wonjae, not only does this story fall into like Wattpad level quality, but it also like sets off a bunch of like other problems for her, which she probably doesn't have like time for. I feel like the story would have been better without the whole like love triangle trope, if you can even call it that. The build-up of each of the relationships weren't bad, but the execution of everything could have been better. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Is this book the best K-pop YA story I've ever read? I don't know, because this is my first one that I've ever read. Is it bad? No, I'm sure there are worse books out there, whether they're officially published or on Tumblr. The story is solid in some aspects and definitely depicts a somewhat realistic view of like a K-pop trainee life. However, the character development could have been better for the majority of the characters. I love the references to real life K-pop, like the chapter names being like K-pop song titles, and even name dropping K-pop groups were fun. Even the mentioning of the like old big three companies were interesting, and I personally found it fun. Do I think it could have been better? Definitely. And I do hope the sequel improves on weak points, as I do plan on reading it once it comes out. Overall book, I'd give it 3 out of 5 stars. Boba, although it was like 6 months ago, the Boba was really good, so 5 out of 5. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the first video of this series, Boba and Books, on my channel. And I'll be doing Jessica John's book, Shine, next. So look forward to that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!